Many 49er fans are furious tonight. New audio recordings of former Saints defensive coordinator Greg Williams are out as he tells his players to go after the heads and other body parts of some of the 49ers star players. Here's a listen to some of that.
We need to decide how many times we can bull rush and we can put Vernon Davis's ankles over the pile.
That's a clip from the much longer locker room talk just before the 49ers Saints playoff game at Candlestick Park. And sports host Marty Lenz joining me tonight. Thank you, as always, for coming by.
Glad to be here.
Stunning stuff. What was your reaction when you heard that recording today?
You've been in locker rooms in college. I have as well. Even in high school, you hear a lot of the hyperbolic excitement. We're going to punch him in the mouth, punch him in the chin. Initially, when I heard the tape, at least the first minute or so, that's what Greg Williams was talking about. It's what you hear in every locker room. And again, I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying you hear that. You get your team fired up. But when he started naming specific players and specific injuries and what they're going to do and, you know, basically aiming at concussions, you heard him talk about Vernon Davis's ankle. You mentioned Crabtree's ACL, the young Williams to see how tough he is. That's where it starts really crossing over the line. Now, I will say this. If anybody's shocked by this, I'm shocked you're shocked. This has been going on since the days of Dick Butkus and Ray Nitschke. Google that. Google plus you will, if you will.
Okay.
That if you don't know who those people are. So, I mean, this has always gone on, but it's gone over the line. I listened to the audio that you just played, the whole thing. There was a part, and they had to describe it because you don't see the pictures of him saying, first one's on me. He was rubbing his fingers together. That's right. So that is way over the line. But the fact that, we're going to punch him in the chin, we're going to see how tough they are, that is, I say, that's normal locker room talk. When you start specifically going after body parts and people, that definitely crosses the line.
Right, and I think that's the thing that really shocks people. There was also talk, I believe, regarding Alex Smith about turning his head sideways, and if you lop off the head, the body will fall. Again, some of that can be some of that talk, just rough talk.
Right.
But on the other hand, if you're talking about a specific player and a specific way to hit somebody, a lot of people are saying that crosses the line. Now, the defensive side, we don't know exactly the context of all of this. Maybe they just meant if he's running, north-south on the field, and you need to do something to cause him to look east-west, and that'll slow him down.
Well, in the case of Frank Gore, they said that. They want him running sideways. And that's simple talk for saying you never want a running back to run downhill.
Right.
But then it starts talking about, when you're on the pile, go for that head, or, insinuate go for the head. Same with Alex Smith. His eyes got this, bleeping big when we were hitting him in the preseason or whatever. So in a sense, that you're showing that's over the line of being, again, gratuitously violent. I mean, it's already a violent sport, but being gratuitous to where you're seeking injury. You're seeking to really eliminate the guy. And, you mentioned that. Got to get on the sideline, got to do those sorts of things. And again, that is way out of bounds. But again, it's not new. This is what's gone on. The deal is this. In this proliferation of media and audio where nothing is off the record, you're going to find out about this stuff. And so that's the thing. So it's not new, but now because of this, for better or worse, and because people have access to technology, you're going to hear more about this, which is good that you hear this, but it may cause a chilling effect too. You're going to see where they sequester players. None of this is going to be allowed. They'll confiscate cell phones, cameras, any audio device, and these meetings will be completely private because of this.
What do you think? You're saying that this happens all the time, and I know those aggressive and emotional locker room talks do happen all the time.
Especially on defense, yes.
But the targeting thing may be different.
Yes.
Is that something that's widespread as well, or just Greg Williams, just the Saints in this case? Is there going to be fallout? We're going to hear of other teams?
I think the NFL wants you to think it's not widespread. And I'm not going to sit there and say that every team does this. But I will say this. I do not think that New Orleans Saints and Greg Williams, it's an isolated incident. Now, there may not be money bounties, okay? But I guarantee you, they get the injury report. And if they see, said running back is got a wound or hurt, they say, let's see how tough that knee is. Let's see how tough that hip is, and take him out. That's to some degree part of the game plan. Right. And again, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm not equivocating, but I'm saying they get those reports and they see that. So this is more widespread than I think what the NFL wants to allow. But I'm not saying every team has a bounty and they do this.
Let's move on to what this could mean for punishment. Greg Williams still kind of figuring out what his fate is, if he's ever going to come back to the game or not.
Though he's eligible for next year for reinstatement.
So now when you take a look at this and they've got this kind of a tape, does that change the sentencing, so to speak, that the commissioner is going to look at? Does it change what happens not only to Williams, but Sean Payton, some of the other coaches?
It may. And by the way, Mickey Loomis, the GM, has been suspended as well. He's got a 6-game suspension. Joe Vitt, who is an assistant coach, he's got a 6-game suspension. By the way, they're all appealing them, though not together, separately. Sean Payton suspended for a year, $500,000 fine. They lose second-round draft picks this draft and draft in 2013. Now, to answer your question, I don't know. I mean, Roger Goodell's pretty firm. I think these penalties are pretty severe. And now that he has the audio, I'm not sure how much more severe you make it because, I mean, Greg Williams is already indefinitely indefinitely suspended. But then again, he can be reinstated next year. I don't think the Peyton suspension changes. I don't see them changing fines at draft picks, so I'm not sure that changes it. Now you just have the hardcore evidence to say, well, now we got you on tape.
Well, nothing else. It's a wake-up call to other teams all around the league and coaches and players as well.
Absolutely.
Marty, thank you as always. I know everybody's talking about it, and we'll see if more comes out on this.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.